if you can be that precise about the number of Hamas terrorists, you must also know how many civilians you've killed. So how many civilians do you believe you've killed? Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. There can be no meaningful and lasting peace in Israel without a two-state solution. That is surely a fundamental fact. It means both sides of this intractable conflict recognise another's right to exist. It means that Palestinians have the same rights as Israelis, enshrined in law. It douses the flames of burning resentment which rage across the Middle East and so much of the Muslim world. And in doing so, it would ultimately make Israel a safer place. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has abandoned all pretense of a two-state solution. With increasingly incendiary rhetoric, he's made it crystal clear that he sees only one state, from the river to the sea. There is no moral defence of Hamas and no justification for its barbaric attack on October the 7th. I've made that repeatedly clear. But there's also no defence of calling Palestinians human animals, for claiming there are no innocent civilians in Gaza, or for saying the common goal of all Israelis is to erase Gaza from the face of the earth. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak today told Netanyahu, in the name of God, go, warning that Israel will sink in the Gaza mud for years to come if he continues to lead the country. Yes, Israel must defend itself. Every country has that right and a duty. He's right about that, but he must also recognise that the war cannot go on forever. One of Israel's most distinguished leaders once wrote that an open-ended, all-out war in Gaza would be hollow and self-defeating. The Hamas leaders would come out from their holes and declare victory among the ruins, he said. Who was it that wrote those words? Benjamin Netanyahu is Israeli government spokesman, Mark Regev. Mark Regev, good to see you. I have a simple question following Benjamin Netanyahu's rhetoric in the last few days, which is, what gives Israel the right to believe that it should exercise this kind of control over Palestinians' right to have their own state?
The right of self-defense, the right of my country to live in security, the fact that we have to base peace on realities and not some sort of pipe dream. And the reality will always be, for the foreseeable future, that Israel lives in a tough neighborhood. And any peace understandings reached that don't take that into account and aren't built solidly on security and an infrastructure of security, no such peace can survive.
Right, but is this open-ended then? Is this forever? Is Israel's position now a totally implacable, there will never be a two-state solution? Because Benjamin Netanyahu's words certainly suggest that.
Over the last half-decade, we've seen peace break out between Israel and a series of Arab countries, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco. You've seen talk of a peace agreement with Saudi Arabia, which the Saudis, despite the current fighting, have still said is on the table. Now, we believe as Israel moves and is accepted more and more by the Arab world, and this is ultimately a very, very positive process, that will also affect Palestinian opinion. And the sort of extremism that Hamas represents will be destroyed in this war, will be discredited, and that'll give room for moderates. And we want to see the Palestinians join the circle of peace, but a peace that is based on reality, not on pipe dreams.
How many Hamas terrorists do you think you've killed?
So there are a couple of hundred that we killed on our side of the border on that first terrible day of October 7th, and in the following days immediately after that massacre, we had to take them out, those people who invaded our country and so forth. And since the operation in Gaza started, we think over 9,000 of Hamas's military fighters there, armed terrorists, we've taken out and killed.
So less than a quarter of Hamas's believed force of 36,000 or so. My point being, the amount of devastation, both in terms of human life that's been taken, including civilian life of women and children, over 10,000 children, it's believed, may now have been killed. If you extrapolate this to the end of Hamas, which is what your mission statement is, to eradicate Hamas, these numbers are going to get to catastrophic levels and leave nothing left in Gaza, are they?
I disagree. First of all, the numbers are Hamas numbers and have to be taken with a grain of salt. Hamas would have you believe that, the overwhelming majority of people killed...
With respect, so are your numbers. You don't know you've killed 9,000 Hamas terrorists.
Can I tell you, when we've made a mistake with numbers, we've corrected ourselves.
Yeah, but you don't know you've killed 9,500, do you? You can't.
No, that That is the intelligence information that we have. We think that's an accurate number. It could be more, it could be less, but that's, I mean, people are always asking us for our numbers. If we don't provide them, people say, what are you hiding?
Well, how many
these are the best numbers I can offer.
Okay, but if you can be that precise about the number of Hamas terrorists, you must also know how many civilians you've killed. So how many civilians do you believe you've killed?
No, but it's a little more complicated. If a Hamas fighter is wearing civilian clothes, is he civilian? No, Israel does not target innocent civilians. Israel does not target Gaza's civilian population. We target Hamas. Now, have there been civilians caught up in the crossfire between the Israel Defense Forces and the Hamas terrorists? Of course there have. There hasn't been a war in history without, unfortunately, people being caught up in the crossfire without civilian casualties. Every civilian death, that's a tragedy.
How does this war end? Your mission statement is to eradicate Hamas. The infrastructure of northern Gaza has been pretty much obliterated. Similar thing is now happening in the south. So again, I just ask you, what does victory look like? How do you know when you've won this war? How does the world know?
In the northern part of the Gaza Strip, we've already destroyed Hamas's ability to organize to operate in large-scale military formations. We've destroyed their battalions. We've destroyed their brigades. We refuse to live next to this Hamas. Hamas must be destroyed. It must be removed from power.
You always get sent out, Mr. Regev, to defend Israel, and you do so every time. Benjamin Netanyahu, is it not time that he answers some tough questions himself?
Well, he's answering tough questions every week to the Israeli media. He's focused today on winning the war.
No, I understand that, but he has given a number of...
The most important thing is to win.
Yeah, but he's given
The most important thing is to win.
He's found time to give interviews to American media. I think he should give one to European media. I would just like to once again, if you could just pass on that request, and I think he should.